we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. We're to review the 0-0 drab draw against Everton. Another 2 points dropped. Shocking stuff, but James Johnstone is here to review it with me. How are you, James?
Oh, yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, Jack. It's always a pleasure to be on here and chatting with you. And like I always say, I wish we could do it under better circumstances. But, you know, there was always the old verbiage thrown at us that we only pod when we're winning. And we've had 2 draws in our last 2 league games, and they've still got 2 podcasts out of it. So
yeah,
let's try and as they say, let's try and pick the bones out of this one, because there's so much to pick out of it, even though it was a 0-0.
It really is. We've turned up even though the players are struggling too. You know what I mean? Neil's got to start a new job tomorrow, so good luck to Neil.
Yes, all the best to Neil.
All best to him. A couple of Arsenal players should be starting a new job the way they're playing at the moment. That's what I think. But we'll get into that. That's a different story. Neil, let's talk about the lineup. Me and you like to have a chat about lineups leading into the games for a couple of days, and then more after it's announced. I mean, I don't think any of us sort of saw the lineup and went, "Oh, shock!" You know, what we doing here? The first reaction from me with the lineup was I have to say I did question the Martinelli start, and I want to get your thoughts on that, because we knew how deep Everton were going to set up. You know, we knew that from the start, how deep they were going to set up. So I found that quite interesting, because we know Martinelli against deep blocks. I'm not sure he's been very successful there. The other thing probably to talk about was in midweek we had a good game, and we played Rice Marino, and we did that again in this game, and I think it's understandable he wants to try to see more of that midfield, and this may have been a game to do it. But removing Partey entirely from the 11 when he's been as influential as he has this season was again another big call. So on those two and anything else, what were your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, so with Martinelli, and I totally understand and get what you said, and even when before a ball was kicked, you know, you guys were talking about that in the WhatsApp group, and I should have been paying more attention. So apologies, I didn't answer it then, but I will answer it now. And the reason he put Martinelli in there is, again, and this might be really, really diving ahead, Jack, so apologies, but you know, you alluded to it with the last podcast with Neil, with Mikel Arteta's comments after the Fulham game, in that it was more about not losing duels and not conceding goals than emphasising about how creation should be more of a thing up the top end of the pitch, and even the finishing and the way the players are applying themselves shouldn't. And I understand not throwing people completely under the bus, but especially in Martinelli's case, Martinelli's done much less, and Mikel Arteta has, you know, maybe not dropped him per name, but you know exactly who he's talking about with some of the things. It's like an indirect sort of backhanded compliment, or, you know, a little bit of a dig to try and get a. And yeah, with Lewis Skelly on there, regardless of how well he played in the midweek, putting him in the Premier League, I understand to start for me is a completely different beast. And he probably thought to himself, much like he did in the midweek game, I need Martinelli there, because as much as I'm critiquing Martinelli for what he's doing up that way, I know that he's got the energy and he's very good at shielding. In terms of doing his defensive duties, with Martinelli, he's not going to slack off and not do that. Whereas with Trossard, or even on my show that I did on Friday with Neil and Michael, I said, I'm so bored of them two at the moment, give me Sterling. But you know, Sterling ain't doing that either. I mean, Sterling at the moment, I don't know what he's doing. He must be in training, the most terrible player he must be the worst player in our squad, because he doesn't even consider him. He doesn't even in training. He must be diabolical. He must be absolutely diabolical. Like he either's tying his shoelaces wrong and can't. I don't know what he does in training because, like I said a minute ago, he don't even get a look in. But yeah, in terms of Martinelli, that's why I think he played him. He played him because he knew off the ball, and in terms of helping a younger fullback and everything else, he's probably my best option. And also, he's still got the pace, even though he's not using it to his advantage at the moment. He has got the pace that if we do bring him out, we can slip him in behind and then maybe something can happen, which is what we didn't do enough, in my opinion. And the Thomas Partey one, I think, like we did discuss throughout the week, there was the report from... Help me out. You're better with knowing who these... Is it Mockbell?
Mockbell,
It was Mockbell. That was it. I was like, I knew it was one of them.
Mockbell, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I'm like, it weren't Benj. I'm like, which one was it? I'm trying to remember. But yeah, he said that has basically stagnated in terms of that renewal. And that's from both sides. That's from Thomas Partey not wanting to sign it, but also Arsenal not really, pushing that. And with Jorginho as well, they've said that that might not be done, but at the two, Jorginho looks the more likely. And I think that's what a lot of us were saying, weren't we? That we think maybe Jorginho would take the 1 year role in and Thomas Partey probably wouldn't. So he's probably looking at it going, that's going to be my future midfield, because in the next couple of days, really, I know Jorginho can do the same, but Thomas Partey can speak to whoever he wants. So why would you? And I know with Xhaka that he continuously played him until the end, even though we knew he was leaving at the end of that year. But we had nothing else there.
No, and he's been relied upon.
Yes,
so much, because Partey, let's be honest, he hasn't been because of his fitness. So
yes.
Carry on.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. No, but we have got options now for 6. We can play Rice there. We can play Jorginho there. Whereas with Xhaka at the time, okay, I know a lot of us were screaming for maybe Smith Rowe to be the left 8. I certainly were, but he was never getting that. He was never getting that role. So I think that's probably why he's done that one. But yeah, to not play your best midfielder in what would be a very physical game, because that's exactly, that Sean Dyche is going to be like physically less dominate Arsenal, and it is the engine room for a reason, the midfield. And I think although a few of them wasn't great, and they all pretty much all got substituted, the midfield that started, they just didn't give enough. I just didn't see it, Jack, I'm afraid.
No, and that's the issue we've got at the moment with playing Rice, and you've definitely got to include Marino in that. Rice at the 6. After midweek, everyone was shouting for it. This is it. This is what we need to do. But the reluctance I had for it was I've not seen it in enough types of games where someone plays a deep block or it's to and fro. Monaco obviously came out a little bit more. They needed to get something from the game, so eventually they came out a little bit more, so it worked to our advantage in that sense. But I have not seen it enough with Rice at the 6. It's not been consistent enough. It's just not. And like you say, his distribution is a concern. And I think the Mockbell stuff, I didn't read enough of it on the Jorginho part. The sort of big takeaway I got from the headlines, at least, were that the likelihood at this point is we don't offer either of them anything, but Jorginho may be more likely. And that was what me and you probably have thought about for a long while. We thought that probably would be the wisest choice, but we would understand if we offered one of them like a short-term deal, but certainly not both. But I think you're right. If that's the case with Partey, there's no other option, I think, other than with the options that we've got, that his game time will slightly reduce at the very least from January onwards, because he will have the ability to talk to elsewhere. Unlike Xhaka, he's a little bit older. This is his last big contract for sure, and he'll want to make sure he's fully fit for it, and not not got a big injury could scupper his chances there. So I think it's different. Xhaka played every game. I mean, he was always fit. He didn't have those underlying issues really. So it will be interesting how I understood Mikel Arteta's reasoning behind it. I expect this to happen more. But it's a concern for us footballing wise, because I don't think it's shown the consistency to be really reliant upon it. And like you said, his distribution, Partey's distribution vertically, and he plays the ball just a little bit quicker than Rice, and he has a different passing range to Rice, and I think he gets us up the pitch quicker than Rice. And Rice obviously has really good attributes in terms of winning the ball back, and I think he did that in this game. Like you said, like we did not get transitioned on. Funny enough, the only time we did get transitioned on was in the 5th minute, when Rice wins a fantastic tackle, gets unlucky, deflects into one of Everton's players' path, and it immediately goes to Decore. But Gabriel does amazing to block it. And to be honest, that was their only mild opening of the whole game. The problem I've got with this, James, and I think we should probably start from this after we've done sort of some of the lineup stuff, and I agree with you on Martinelli too. I think his defensive attributes probably played in, but again, that goes back to Mikel Arteta's mindset on we're playing Everton at home. Who should I play left wing? Should I play the guy that I think maybe is more likely to get a goal in the deep block, or should I play the guy that I think might help us not concede the one chance, going backwards? And my frustration is when I hear him talk after games, even in this game, he said, disappointed not to win the game. Only one team that deserves to win it, and that is Arsenal. I can't deny that. There's 1.58 XG to 0.17. I mean, that's probably undeniable, but we didn't do enough in my opinion. But he always says stuff like this: we gave nothing away, no shots conceded, dominated the play, did not allow them to run, transition, no set pieces, high press was excellent. And it's almost like he's such a control freak that he wants to give up absolutely zero defensively, and he wants perfection defensively, but by doing that, we give up some of our attacking threat, because if you're that good defensively, like if you give up 0.1 XG in a whole game to a whole team, it's amazing, it's impressive. But at the same time, that other team is probably going, they're probably planning on that in a way. They're going, we're not going to get a thing going forward here, so let's set up really set up shop and try not to give out as many chances as possible. And we are not creative enough from open play to break it down in all types of situations, James. And it's really fun. We got 18 goals from open play this season in comparison to Chelsea's 27. I think we've had one since November from open play in the Premier League. The stats say we've had, if you compare it to the last 2 seasons, we've had less shots this season. We've got less goals. We had 33 at this point last season, 40 the season before. We've got 29 now. Our shot conversion's down. Our XG created is down. All our shot creations are down. And I think all our attacking players, bar Saka, are worse than they were last year. And it's a real big concern, James. And you go back to, why didn't we address this in the transfer window once again?
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is I did a podcast right after the game yesterday, and a lot of the comments that were coming in when I was bringing up the same sort of issues was just, well, this is very nonsensical, because we need to find a solution now. There's still going to be time before January to find that solution. But to me, I'm like, well, there's really 2 buttons that you can hit. And one of them is the ultra panic of sack this manager because the tactics he's doing are wrong, which I don't agree with. As much as I've got this critique and everything in here, I think sacking him now is very reactionary, and it probably does us a lot more worse than it does good. So I'd hold fire on that one. But the second panic button I have is, you've got to spend some bloody money and you have to do it on an attacker. And that has to come from him himself maybe being more lenient, because I do agree that the forward, either down the middle or even the winger that he wants, has to be this perfect and particular type for him. Otherwise, he's not going to do it. But I'm like, well, it's very rare that you get that player in a January. Now, I know that Liverpool signed Luis Suarez in a January many, many years ago. But for me, I think someone of that caliber, the only one that I would say, and maybe he's not even Luis Suarez type, but someone who's a big name striker that you know is gettable in January, for me, is still Gyökeres. And I would still pay that release clause and get him. But I don't believe deep down, really, that's the centre forward that Mikel Arteta wants. So I look at wingers and I go, what top class wingers are out there? And there's quite a few. But again, I'm like, is these the ones that because for me, he probably wants to spend the big bucks and get his Nico Williams, which if we did do, bloody hell, that's a fantastic, fantastic player. But I'm like, you need to, like when you had to pivot and get Jorginho and Trossard a few years ago, you maybe have to look at somebody who's still there, but a cheaper option than what maybe a Nico Williams or what have you is going to cost you, and bring them in regardless, because what you've got in the squad currently is not good enough. And if he cannot see that, Jack, and if the people above him could not see that and force the issue, then I will openly admit on here, because I'm not afraid to do so, I will become more visceral, not just towards what Mikel Arteta is doing, but I will direct that again back at the Cronk, because for me, for the last few years, I've not really had a problem with the Cronkies. I think that people that go, oh, he's not been financially backed, I find that ridiculous. He's the most financially backed, not just in wages, but in terms of transfers, manager of all time in Arsenal's history. Nobody has ever been backed. I would, even towards the end of his tenure with Arsene Wenger, and how frustrated, it was never at this level in terms of not being able to create or not being able to find a solution. But I would have loved to have seen Arsene Wenger get given £100 million to spend on a player.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because he never had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, we can't on the one hand say, Americans know nothing about football, and then on the other hand say they're telling him to buy 6 left backs. Well, it doesn't make any sense, does it? Yeah. It's not, he's been given the money. They've not asked him how to distribute that. I guarantee that they've not done that. Maybe it's come from Edu, but
when they've spoken, Jack, they've openly said, we finance this pretty much, and we do have some level of input, but this guy, and like I put in the chat yesterday, I again, if you, to all the American listeners, I know we have a lot of them, I don't watch the NFL, I don't know, but I'm going based off what I've read and what I've seen, that apparently with this Rams organisation that they have out there, is very much, this McVay he oversees pretty much
he's the man,
this whole and so he's done the same thing. Apparently when he come in, he was a very young, new to the whole thing manager, and obviously he got him over the line and won him a Super Bowl. And I believe that sort of thing is what I think Josh Kroenke wants nothing more in the world to win one of the big two, but with Arteta to just be again. Because it is, it's not just bumping up Arsenal and it's bumping up him, because he can go, look, that's an appointment that I've made. My dad's not made these big calls. I have. My dad's maybe signed off on them, but it's me that's gone out there, done all the recruitment work, done all the interviewing process, sitting there and et cetera, et cetera. So it makes me look like a better executive. Because that's what it all is at the end of the day. They're, all these big businessmen that come into sports and everything, as much as they do care, and obviously I believe they do, and they want to win things, it's a flex, isn't it? It's the whole, it goes back to the, one of my favourite films of all time, American Psycho, where they all have the business cards, don't they? And they're all flashing them out, and that one's, he's got a better one than he's got, and everything. It's that sort of, it goes back to that sort of, scenario, which I believe all these owners in America must get together, and so at the end of a year or whatever, when they do meet each other at something, it's oh yeah, what did you do this year? Oh yeah, Oh yeah, I won a Premier League. Oh, I won the Champions League. What did you do? So it's the bragging rights that are needed there as well. But yeah, I really, as much as on the pitch at the moment, we need to do so much more. I still think that with these players that you've got especially in that left wing position at the moment, you can't get this perfection that you seek. And I think if you believe that you can, then Mikel Arteta for me is developing an illness, Jack, that I have called Southgate-itis. And once you get that, you can't escape that, because that was what Gareth, do you want to be known as a nearly man? Because that's what I feel, we'll play some great stuff here and there, and we'll get as close and as close each year, but we will never get over the line. And I'm like, is that what you want your legacy to be? Because that's the way it will go for me, unless you address in January that glaring issue. Because no matter who, you could have Cafu, Maldini, Tony Adams, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, whoever in your, you could have the peak of defenders that I've seen since I was born, but you are not going to concede a goal in the Premier League. To think that you can go games where you're not going to get, we've been saying it, me and Neil especially, we're conceding to goals, and you brought it up as well with Emerson's free kick and the XG that, would come from. Again, yesterday, okay, it didn't get converted. Gabriel did really well to actually get it blocked.
That's how easy it is.
Well, it was just one ball.
One.
It was.
We didn't do a lot wrong there, James. I mean, no. If you watch the play, that's my point. We didn't do it. That can happen in football.
Yes.
You can't eradicate I made a good tackle on the edge of the area, but the ref gave a free kick and they pinged it in 30 yards. And then what do you do? Now you're 1-0 down, and that team's going to sit 10 yards deeper, and you didn't know how to break them down before the goal. So
yeah, exactly.
That's you can't eradicate jeopardy. You can't eradicate it. I think he's done a great job in trying to, but to do it by relinquishing attacking threat is madness, and it's even more madness when you don't have the attacking firepower that the other top teams do, which we know we don't. So we have to create more volume. The reason he's done so well at scoring so many goals in the last 2 years is because at some point in the season we did realise that we had to create more chances than the other teams, because we weren't converting as many. So we would create, we would make sure we get 15 shots on target, etc. We're nowhere near that level. All the data that we just presented is saying that. I mean, we had we had 13 shots, did we, yesterday? 5 on target. But with 78% of the ball, it's not enough. I mean, talk about the first half, James. Just a couple of things. I mean, Odegaard probably had the best chances of the game in the first half. One was a great move from Saka down the right, a great ball played in from Havertz. Saka does really well. Mikalenko could have taken him down, to be honest, and he does really well. But then when you watch the chance to Odegaard, it's not good enough, James. He gets the ball on the penalty spot, and if you see it from the camera view from behind the goal, everyone says mad about Pickford. It's straight at him. It's straight at Pickford. He's got the whole goal away. I know there's a couple of defenders there, but you've got it on your best foot. It's out of your feet. One touch. Hit that high into the net. What are you doing? Hitting it straight down the throat of the goalkeeper. And it was the same for the Martinelli chance. It was the same for Saka's one. He had a decent save to early in the second half. But to be honest, Pickford, everyone going mad. They were all easy saves for him. We weren't making him work, really, were we?
Yeah, no, that I do agree with, and that was something even in the midweek. With some of the Gabriel Jesus chances, they were like, "Oh, that's great goalkeeper." I was like, "Don't you dare say that's great goalkeeper." I was like, "That's piss poor finishing.
Exactly,
that's not good goal." I'm like, I did also want to throw into the conversation that obviously, we get Pickford the day that he turned into Brian Booth. He'll never have a game as good as that in an Everton shirt. I know that he does it for England, but he will not have a game like that. But again, For me, Everton, they're getting a brand new owner in the next couple of days coming in. Sean Dyche is probably, his job's on the line, because they haven't been good enough for nearly 3 years now, Everton. And you know what Sean Dyche is like. You know what his style of football is like. For a new owner coming in to stamp his ground, he's probably not wanting Sean Dyche football with the amount of money that he's going to be chucking into that club, especially with them moving into a new stadium. For them to get relegated and have to play their new season in the Championship, yeah, I'd find it hilarious. But for them, that's an absolute nightmare. Yeah. So you knew that he's coming to Arsenal. If I can get a point, he'll be over the moon. And like I said to you in the text last night before I went to sleep to come and do this, I said they probably sat on the bus absolutely pissing themselves laughing with how Arsenal played again. All week they probably did analysis with video work and everything, going, bloody hell, look at all the ways that they're going to try. Arsenal's got so many players, or, we're going to have a real hard day. They probably thought like they did when they went and played Man United. Even though they've had a 10-day break, they've probably thought to themselves, bloody hell, they're going to come at us, Arsenal. They're one of the favourites for the title. We're going to have a really tough... But we just played in front of them. Let's cross the ball at nauseam when we've got 2 6'5" centre-backs. That's a great idea. Mental.
Yeah, mental. I mean, 9 of our 27 goals this season have come from set pieces. So that's about 33, but 1 in 3. Yeah. 1 in 3 goals have come from set pieces, and we were going through a poor phase this stage last season, and all our data is lower. And the issue I've got, James, is last season at this point we hadn't discovered Havertz at the 9. Yeah, that was something that we faded into after the FA Cup loss to Liverpool, and we'd actually been calling for on this pod before that. And he decided to do it then, and it changed our attacking world, really. But that change does not exist in the squad anymore. What we have is what we've got. There isn't anything. We're not gonna suddenly start playing Sterling every week. I think we already know that's not going to happen. The best we can hope for it from him is an impact sub player. I don't think we're going to re-find Martinelli. I think we're beyond that as well. That was last season we were looking for that. Now I think we know what we've got with Martinelli, which is someone that has stagnated and that is not good enough to go and win us a title. I think that's what we know. He's known it. He's known it for 2 years. He tried to sign Rafinha 2.5 years ago. Was it to replace Saka? No, it was to play him exactly where he's playing for Barcelona right now, which is left wing. That's exactly where he wanted to play him. Jamal's on the right wing. Barcelona knew exactly what they were doing with that. And that's why we went, I've got no problem with us going after him. The Mudryk one, I've got a different question. But that's a little bit of a worry, to be honest. But, when everyone says, Mikel, he wants the elite attacker. And I'm like, yeah, all right, but I've seen some of the names that we've gone after in the last 2.5 years, so I'm not certain that's the case, to be honest. But without doubt, if we do, and I think it's unlikely we do move in January because of finance and, I don't think he's willing to hoard attackers like he is left backs and all this sort of stuff. But if we do, it has to be someone in that elite level. It can't be even a Trossard type signing anymore. It can't be that. As good as Trossard's been, it cannot be that. We have to get someone, because in this game, I mean, my brother will immediately text. He goes, "See, Saka didn't do it again. He's not consistent enough." And I went, but the problem is when Saka doesn't do it, we don't do it. If Odegaard and Saka don't do it, and Odegaard finishing wise has been dreadful in the last 2 games, he could have had 6, and that is no joke. I mean, taking him off we'll get to, but he really could have had 6. But if those 2 don't do it, their creation and their output does not do it, this season it's not happening. Havertz for me has fallen off quite a lot in the centre forward position. I think Mikel Arteta's got to take some blame, because him moving him from a centre forward back to midfield every other game. What good centre forward, top level centre forward, do you know that pops back into midfield every other game? It doesn't happen, does it? And he needs more time because he's still learning the role, so he has to stay there. But you keep dropping him back in the midfield. What chance does he have, to be honest? So you've let him down there, I think. I think we've let him down there, to be honest, this season. He looks exhausted. I saw him doing an interview after the game. He looks like Casper. He needs 3 weeks of sleep. Honestly, it's shocking. But he's dropped off big time, and Martinelli's basically where he was last season, but we knew it wasn't good enough. And him or Trossard, I think Trossard's dropped off a lot, actually. I think he's become more selfish in his way of playing. I don't think he's become a team player as much as he was. So all of that means it's a big worry, James, isn't it, going forward? Like, can you see us clicking into gear again and going on a run like we did last season? I'm not convinced.
For me, and I hate to revert back to conversation, and it seems like it really does seem like it's a big cop-out, Jack, from me, and I apologise for that. But without an addition in that area that would make, and I know what you're saying about it can't even be a Trossard solution or what have you, but I think you don't have to do 100 plus or maybe 80 plus million here, because there are players that I feel myself would cost minimum between 50 to 60 that can carry that load until you want to buy, because obviously you can't loan anybody because you've got Sterling and Neto, and I don't believe we're going to send Sterling back. And obviously you're not sending Neto back, because then your backup goalkeeper is a kid who, let's be fair, he's performed okay in the Carabao Cup, and he probably is going to be the understudy next season unless he go, and then we're probably going to buy an older, maybe third choice. Maybe he keeps Neto as the third choice. He probably buys him off Bournemouth permanently and makes him the third choice, so that he's got an older third choice one that we've seen has been the report that, he wants like an older goalkeeper to be his, a bit like what Carson is really at Man City. So he rarely plays, but he's an older head in that locker room that people, can look up to, and he does that sort of thing. But without that addition, I can't see it, because I'm like the level of output that you're getting again from just that area, or I'm like the lack, with me, Liverpool's every single one of them that they change every game or whatever, they can score an assist. With Arsenal, if we have to change it, when I saw yesterday Trossard come on and Jesus come on, even taking away what we did, which I feel like you said when, okay, I'm probably jumping the gun again here, but when we changed to bring Partey on at fullback and then switch Timber to the left, you knew that basically, that overlapping sort of play that we've had so well, that's gone now. So you've eradicated that. So, and I'm like, you're trying to play through the middle, which is what you've done all game, and they've nullified. They want you to play through the middle of them. You're not going to drag them out. I mean, yesterday he's got a 39-year-old Ashley Young there, and he was shackled by him, Jack Martinelli.
He was clueless.
Yeah. And I'm like, run him. Even before he got a yet, because you've seen him being sent off time and time again for Everton the last 2 seasons. He's been sent off constantly, and he got a yellow towards the end of the game as well. I'm like, just all you've got to do, Martinelli, when you get the ball, pick it up like you've done before and run at him. And I know people would go, oh yeah, he runs past him and then he gets to the byline and puts in a crap cross or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that might have been what would have happened. I'm like, you didn't even try it. Ashley Young got the ball off him, I think it was maybe once or twice, and it was like he gave up. He gave up the ghost. He was like, no, that's it for me now then. I'm not going to continue with that. And I'm like, you can't shackle away. I know you're saying about what your brother's saying about Bukayo Saka, but Bukayo Saka might lose 1 or 2 duels against somebody. Like you mentioned to me, Mikalenko, he handles him very well. Every time we play him,
doesn't get booked either. Makes lots of fouls.
That's what I was just about to say.
Just like Cucurella gets away with it.
Yeah, he's on his ankles.
Yeah,
he loves a little dig at him. He loves going in there with him, and like you said, like Cucurella, he gets away, but he don't give up, because he knows, Saka knows, I'm just going to keep going and do what I do, because eventually I'll get a situation A bit like what I did I ended up nutmegging him and chopping another one and laying into Odegaard, and Odegaard didn't finish it. But Martinelli will just give it up. And then I'm like, brilliant. Because that now for the rest of the game, you're not going to do anything then. And
0 successful dribbles from Martinelli. 6 from Saka.
Come on. Yeah, come on.
0 against Ashley Young.
Yeah,
I don't
against the 39.
dribble.
Yeah, against the 39-year-old. Yeah,
what are we doing here, James? What are we doing? You know, I honestly, I did think after midweek. I know Jesus had his moments. He missed 2 sitters. I wouldn't have minded playing Jesus out on the left, and these are all bad
when you bring
options,
him on. No, when you bring him on, like you said, don't move Havertz back in the middle.
No.
Keep him up there. Yeah, you've seen in midweek. You've seen midweek Jesus coming out. You know, okay, he started up front, but he was playing in a wider position, got the ball, collected it, and delivered a cross through that got tacked in. So you know that out wide he could put. And I'm like, why would you take your 6'4"? You know, most goals at home from any of your attacking players in the calendar year. Why take him out? I'll drop him back in the middle again. Like you said, it's again. I will never question Havertz's work rate. And do you know what? He had a chance in this game where a ball did come across, but Saka actually took it off. I don't know if Saka didn't hear the shout, or maybe he didn't believe that Havertz. But if Saka had left it, Havertz definitely would have got. I'm not saying he would have definitely scored, but he definitely would have had a better chance. You know, he might have had to have produced something out of Pickford, or it looked like it was a free header maybe for Havertz to take. But other than that, and again, I don't like using the excuse that, you know, I see online. Oh yeah, but he worked hard, James. Well, that's the bare minimum. When you wear that shirt, that's the bare minimum requirement for me, working hard.
Yeah. And I think
I'd expect that from anybody, not just a highly strung professional athlete. You know, when I go to the co-op, or when I go to Tesco's to pick stuff up, I bet they all work hard in there as well.
Yeah, and
that's the bare minimum.
Exactly, and I think, you know, the likes of Rice and Havertz, who are known for their engine and non-stop work rate, I'd love to see their numbers this season. It feels like they've both dropped quite dramatically in that aspect to me.
Yeah, I still can't find distant cover, Jack. That's the one thing I can't find.
We don't pay for those things. But you know what? The one thing I would say. In the second half, I think we ran out of ideas. I was worried. I was definitely worried at half time. Absolutely no chance I wasn't worried, because we weren't creating enough again, and we'd seen it all before. And I was sitting there going, okay, he needs to make changes, but hopefully the urgency is going to come towards. We're going to, you know, our legs are going to come again, and we'll, you know, freshen the team up a little bit, and we'll go at them again, and we'll. But our movement is so poor, I think, in the final third, and our ability to move the ball urgently was so poor. I think we made 28 crosses in this game. Havertz is 6'4". I don't think he's getting on the end, or close to on the end of enough of these. He's 6'4". You're a basketball player in there. Our crosses can't be perfect from set pieces and then terrible from in-game play. So either our movement in the box is shocking, or something's off, because I see a lot of balls dropping in the box, and I constantly watch it go, we haven't got anyone that's instinctively understanding where these balls are going to be. No one. And they've got 6'5" centre-backs that just love heading balls out all day. I bet they were laughing their heads off, like you said. They must have been laughing at it. I mean, we had to find a different way of playing, more intricate way of playing. When he brings Ranieri on, I was very frustrated with Odegaard, but at the same time, all the big chances fell to him in the first half. So to take him off with 30 minutes left when you really need a goal is a bit of a questionable one. You probably should have looked at Marino, who I thought was pretty absent in this game. I thought he was decent at midweek. In this game, there was moments where I was like, I can't really find you, Mikel. And I thought this would be the game where you go, okay, put Ranieri and Odegaard on, be your two creative numbers there, and play them both. Because Odegaard had a shot over the bar, he had that chance, he had another one where he did brilliant in the first half. He cut inside 2 or 3 and dragged it wide. And I was like, basically, if you need a goal, and why are you taking you probably shouldn't be taking Odegaard off. That's probably where I'm going with it. I don't think you should be taking him off. And I think that was a wrong decision as well in hindsight. We all look good in hindsight saying it. If he scored, then...
I mean, Nwaneri's a fantastic point to make there, Jack, because after the game, now I know everybody knows that I'm a stickler for these stats and, my sofa score and everything else, and I like to look at it. And I sat there, even when I was watching it, going, I don't think you've got double digits for touches here, Nwaneri, mate. And when I finally did, and I clicked it and I saw he actually did have 10. So I was like, bloody hell, I must have missed it. But even when he come on, it seemed like they bypassed him, Jack. You know how the last few weeks we've said, isn't it amazing how with Skelly and with Nwaneri, even at the young ages that they are, our players trust them with the ball. They're giving him it. Give it to Nwaneri. Go on, give it to Skelly. See what he can do here. Let him have a chance here. Let him skin a player. Let him take somebody on, or let him try and play an instinctive pass or something. And they just all yesterday seemed to bypass it, especially when he was on that side. When he was on that right hand side. Now I know that obviously going back to what we said as well, swapping Timber over and Partey over, you eliminate that side. But all of them, when they come on, it was just Saka, give it Saka, give it Saka, give it Saka. And I'm like, well, Nwaneri was there for nearly half hour, 35 minutes. And it was, again, I was shocked when I saw that he had double-digit touches. I was shocked because it just seemed to me that, and that's not from, some people are saying, well, you're all shouting for it. This is why he doesn't start, because he doesn't, put himself out there when he does. And I'm like, I'm not blaming him for none of that. I'm not blaming him at all. For me, they just bypassed him because it was just literally, like you said earlier, Saka's got to bail us out again. Put the team on your back again, Saka, and carry us, please, because nobody else can. And it's unsustainable. And we've seen that for 3-4 seasons that it's unsustainable. Jack, we can go back even further. But it was unsustainable when Alexis Sanchez had to do it for this squad. It was unsustainable when Robin van Persie, dare I mention the name, had to do it for this squad. One man cannot carry you all the way. Look at people that are even below us. They've got 3 or 4 up there that all do it for them.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got one.
I watched the last sort of 9 minutes of the Liverpool game when the Arsenal game had ended, and I thought I'll just put it on, and they were down to 10 men, obviously. And I'm watching it and I'm going, it's just, they're so much faster at moving the ball in the attacking third than us. They're down to 10 men. And they're so much faster. But at the same time, in the 9 minutes I watched, Fulham could have had 2. But they forego that because they trust their goalkeeper fully, that he's going to save a lot of them. They trust their centre-back in Van Dijk fully, and we can do the same thing. Ours are just as good. I believe that. But what our centre-back, our highest touch players were Gabriel, Williams, Saliba and Yuri and Timber. By some distance. They had double the amount of touches than almost everybody.
And that was probably them playing it around the 3 of them.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's just... I don't think he knows how to fully take the handbrake off. Fully go chaos. You have to be able to take bigger risks at moments like that. You have to be able to do it. You have to look at that game and go, we have to get the 3 points here, and if it means we lose 1 and have to get 2, then that's what it is. That is what it has to be. And I don't think he's willing to do that, and for some reason he's become even less willing to do it this season. Like last season I felt there was moments where we were really willing to go there, and even less willing to do it this season, and I don't know why that is. But like you said with Saka, I mean, he's not quite there yet in terms of being at the Henry or the Van Persie or the Robert Pires level. My brother just sent me a text, said he's not as good as Alexis Sanchez, and I went, I probably agree with you. I think it's close. I said I probably agree with you. If you look at the numbers, it's very close. Alexis Sanchez best 3 seasons, had 75 goals and assists in his best 3 Premier League seasons. Saka's 2.5 so far. and he's had 65. So numbers-wise, it's right there. The difference is Alexis Sanchez had about a third of the defensive responsibilities that Bukayo Saka does. He did, didn't he? I mean, what did Wenger make him do?
And another thing I'll say as well is that he played down the middle.
Yes, more.
Saka's not been operated down the middle ever, and I don't think he will be. So yeah, I'll throw that as a little caveat in there if I can as well.
Yeah.
Not so you can win an argument with your brother by any means, but
it's true.
Yeah,
we're not supporting him enough. He's a top player, and we saw what happened with Alexis. We saw what happened with Robin van Persie. And as much as I dislike those players now, they left because they didn't get that backing and support and belief that they were going to go and win something with us. And if we do it with Saka, I won't forgive us because. He's been with us for a long, long time. He's obviously, I have a bigger connection to him already than those players, and I think it would be really, really silly not to find attackers that are on his level. And we have to do it, and he's running out of time to do it. And I think that's the frustration with Arsenal fans, is they feel like they're running out of time. A lot of Arsenal fans, I think, are looking at this from the last 2 seasons perspective and how close we went. And that frustration has boiled over, and now every time we drop points, Arsenal fans, they're just, the frustration is, it's just a knock-on effect from the last 2 seasons, and they're going, they think we're running out of time here. The one thing I will say for that is I have my same concerns because all these other teams are getting better. The Chelseas, even the Man U's, they'll get better, so they'll be right there possibly now or next season or whatever. But what I would do is I'd look at the whole team, and I don't think, other than the areas that we're going to replace, I don't think anyone's really at their peak age yet. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Raya is, I don't think Gabriel is, I don't think Saliba is, I don't think Ben White is, I don't think Urian Timber is, I don't think even Declan Rice and Saka are, Kai Havertz. I don't think majority of our group, I still think they're not at their peak age yet, to be honest. The problem with that, like you say, is there's a lot of other teams coming, and there's a lot of other good coaches that are coming in. You can't, just believe that it's going to come your way, because it doesn't. It will just bypass you if you don't progress, and if you don't make a move in the transfer market like we didn't properly this summer. It can cost you. It really can, and that's the frustrating. In the second half, James, I think the changes in, if you look at them collectively, I think they hindered us. I think we were probably more creative, and then we made a lot of changes, and I don't think any of them really worked. They could have done. I don't think, a lot of them were necessarily wrong. Like Trossard for Martinelli, I wondered why it was so late. I don't know how Martinelli stayed on for 75 minutes and was our last sub. How did that happen? Should have been the first one. For sure, should have been the first one. And that was my frustration there. And the fullback one, for me, I did not agree with at that time, because I thought you were just immediately removing that attacking source from the fullbacks by doing that. But I think, like he said at the end of the game, he said most of my changes at the moment are for management of players. He said Declan Rice was suffering from a niggle a little bit and asked to be taken off. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. I just found it really odd that you took Rice and Odegaard off at the same time, 2 leaders in there. Massive transition for your midfield to do that. Again, we score a goal. Thomas Partey's penalty get given in the 89th minute, and you're not talking like this probably. What did you think of that penalty, by the way?
For me, I've seen a lot of people go that we've been robbed there. I didn't feel that. I feel we got enough of the ball beforehand. Even though he got a lot of the player, I still feel he got enough of the ball beforehand. I get the follow through and I understand it, but especially with that badge on your shirt, we don't get given those. We don't get given those. I was impressed that he booked Pickford for when he booted the ball away for delaying that restart. Yeah. When he absolutely volleyed it out. I was shocked that someone else actually finally has been booked for that. Against Arsenal anyway, because we had the same referee that sent off Rice in the last game against Fulham, and I saw Bassey and the others do that about 3 or 4 times, and he didn't book any of them. In the end, Arsenal player, especially Timber was looking at that ref going, mate,
yeah,
you hooked one of ours for less than this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you on?
I think I didn't really have a problem with the ref overall. I don't understand quite where 4 minutes only came from, to be honest. Though, there was time wasting from the get go.
Oh god, yeah.
So I was like, 4 minutes.
I thought it was going to be at least 6 to 7. But
yeah, that was dodgy.
But then, Jack, we could still be playing out there now. We wouldn't, we could be playing on our own. We wouldn't score.
Exactly, and that's where I think Mikel is a little bit off. I mean, I know 1.58 XG. I think that flatters us, to be honest. I don't really, when you look at that, and Monaco was only 2.2, and I'm like, something's off there with the XG, because it could have been 6-0 up in the first half against Monaco. So I don't quite buy into where we got that sort of shot creating chances from. Maybe the first half, the Odegaard one was obviously a big one. Maybe Martinelli's one from wide that was quite big, but I don't really recall any other clear cut chances. Saka shot from Odegaard had one over. We had a couple of headers, but I don't really recall a lot. But it's frustrating when there's so long of the game left, even with those changes, and you just. You ran out of complete ideas, and Jake, like you, I go back to the transfer window. The Sterling one's looking more and more baffling as the weeks go by. But the worry I have for January is not that we want it, is the player that we want available, and because we've been so reluctant to pull the trigger since the Rafinha bid, and then the Mudryk and the Netos and the Williams and the Seskos, and obviously some of those they didn't move anyway, so I get it. But is the player available in January? You'd think in your head, unless it's an absolute elite talent, it would probably have to be within the league, and those are really difficult to get in the league in January unless they've had a falling out like Trossard did. So then I'm like, the most obvious ones that are available are Gutierrez and Lookman, maybe. But I'm not convinced on the ones that are possibly available that we actually want them. So,
well, it's him and his mindset, isn't it? It's making him again a bit like we had to do 2 Januaries ago. It's making him shift his mindset, and that to me is the big, because again, once he gets something, to his detriment, and maybe even a strength of his is his stubbornness. And a lot of people go, oh yeah, but he's ruthless. I'm like, he's selectively ruthless. Let's be honest. He is selectively ruthless, but he's proven, for me, that a lot of people go back to the Ramsdale and the Raya situation. Well, I'm like, you've seen the difference there. He saw it, he knew it, and he done it. So, but he can be as ruthless, like we keep mentioning, with these defensive options. But he continuously neglects the attack. And again, he can no longer neglect his attack. I mean, yesterday, me and my brother went to the shops and we were like, oh, we're having a curry tonight. I was like, oh, brilliant, here we go. They didn't have the Madras mix, mate. So we had to settle for sag. Now, sag, there's no problem with sag. It's a lovely meal. It tied you over. And that's what I feel with Arteta. I'm like, you and your talent, even with Edu gone, you and your talent recruitment department and what have you, you're telling me you cannot find anyone in the world of football that can't give you more than Trossard, Martinelli, Sterling or Jesus can at the moment. Arsenal Football Club can't find... Jack, I'm sorry. I think that's bollocks.
And I'm still so annoyed by the 10 and 14 stuff. Yeah. I'm still so annoyed by the 10 and 14. So I just can't. Yeah. Every week we don't finish something. Can't finish our dinner at the moment. I watch us and I think this is a team that I'm proud of this. I mean, a team to be quite proud of in the last 20 years has not been that often, available to Arsenal fans, and this is definitely one of those. And we've somehow got no 10 or 14, or if we do put one in one, it's Eddie Nketiah. And I'm watching it going, how's this possible? How have we got no one in the number 10 and 14 shirts? I thought we were saving it for someone. Maybe we are, but gosh, I mean, you can't leave those blank for long. I mean, you just can't. It's just mental in Arsenal Football Club. It's not the same as other clubs. I mean, check the history of the numbers, but it's just that doesn't stinks for me.
Just walk outside the ground.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
You got two statues of players in a 10 and 14.
It's so frustrating, but I mean, it's 2 points dropped. It leaves us 9 points off. I mean, 6 points off, but 9 points off for the game in hand, most likely. We're not capitalising on any sort of drop points that Liverpool have, which is very few in fairness. But we're not capitalising. Chelsea are, but I've not really considered us sort of in the title race for a while anyway, because we can't create this consistency. But my biggest concern for the team is if the team doesn't consider themselves at some point in the title race, what the drop off might be. And that's my concern, because you'll see it with City. If they're not in it, I think they'll drop off quite dramatically, because how can you keep that energy going? And with us, with the last 2 seasons that we've had where we've been so close, if we don't believe we're in it, I think that could happen with us too, where it gets into a battle for top 4 and things like that. And that's my worry, to be honest. I'm almost in two minds as to, what's best for us in that sense. Because the last thing I'd want is to go as close as we did in the last 2 seasons and then lose out on it again. Let's be honest, it's been gut wrenching, isn't it? So, I mean, what's your thoughts on where we're at in the state of play?
Yeah. See, until it is mathematically impossible, I don't like saying it's done. But, again, I say it as I see it. I always do. I pride myself on the fact that I think it is. I cannot see where we can, I don't think we're consistent enough to go on one of those big runs again. I think, like you said, too much has got to change in order for us to go on a big run like that. I think we're not being as... I don't like to say lucky with injuries as we've been before, because I don't think luck comes into it with injuries. I think, these things just happen and it's either your time or it's not your time. So I don't know if we'll, that was his 11th different back four that he's played this season already, and it's only December. It's a bit crazy. That's a bit crazy in its own right. And, as much as... I would rather it go anywhere else than Merseyside, because I despise Liverpool more than anybody else. I can't see it, and that I feel, regardless of the players that he's inherited and the fact that they didn't really buy anyone in the summer, I think as much as Man City rightfully will have to be critiqued for how well they've dropped off and everything, I think looking at Arsenal, seeing the surroundings and everything else that you've got, to let an absolute novice of this league come in and win it within his first year, I think that's that's a bit shameful from us. I really do. Yeah. But you can't control the uncontrollable. Sadly, you can't control what happens in these other games. You've only got to do what you can do in your games. But I think the language, and like you said, the way they're playing, it will seep in. The only 2 players that we've got in our side that actually stand there and say, we're going to win the league this year, are Saka and Saliba. The others are still saying, we're going to try, we're going to try and do all we can. We're going to, them 2 actually go, no, we are. And I'm like, yeah, how many of you really believe? How many of you really, really believe? Because I know the manager believes, and I know, Saka and Saliba believe. But again, it's the rest of them. And it goes back to conversations that we've had before, in that this is why this next game for me is so important. Because if you can't win the league, you got 3 other trophies. And I'm like, you and this group that you've got now, I know that we've won a trophy under this manager. I know. But I'm like, you and this group that you've got now, you need to keep it. You need to keep it together. And the only way you're going to keep it together is adding silverware to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, as much as we've had fans before diminishing these cups, oh no, Arsenal were bigger than that. No, we're not. I'm like, do not diminish any cup competition. I'm like, you need to show that you can win regardless, and that team needs to know us as a collective can go out there and win honours, because it will lift it. Winning breeds winning. And this lot, sadly, they haven't won anything, Jack. Because beforehand we've diminished the cup and just gone for the league, and I'm like, no, you need to show that you're consistent in 4 competitions. That's the level. So sadly, you can't just every year go, I only want the Premier League. That's not good enough for Arsenal. It's not how it works around here. You've got to show yourself, And there's been times, Jack, really. And I know a lot of people are probably going to come and roast me in our comments for this, but how many times really have the best team won the Champions League? Like, the team that you really think play the best football have won the champion. They haven't. So I'm like, look at the way this new format's going and everything else in there. You get that draw. You get that draw right. You got a good stab at that this year as well.
Where do you stand on let's talk about Champions League, because there's not a lot more to talk about on this game. 2-point drop. I think we've kind of discussed it. Obviously, we had a great performance in the week. Lewis Skelly's debut, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was fine in this game too, to be honest. It's very encouraging. One thing I will say, it's very encouraging how solid our defence looks, despite the fact we've got a novice 18-year-old playing at left-back. And in midweek, we had Kivior playing at centre-back. And that is one thing I will give him. We've got a lot of changing parts there, players that you didn't even expect to be anywhere near that back four at the start of the season. And our defence is showing itself to be pretty solid, even against Fulham. Let's be honest, that it flattered them what they got out of us. And you watch Fulham against Liverpool before and after the red card, by the way, and that free will created. I mean, so it's that's one thing he's really got down, to be fair, and there's still a lot more to come, because you've got the likes of Calafiori and Tommy and these White, these sort of players to come back. But brilliant for Lewis Skelly, obviously fantastic. What a player he's going to be, and hopefully we use him right. It'll be very interesting to see how we use him in the next 2 games, which I'll get your predictions for. But what do you think about, we're third in the table now in the Champions League, but we're third, but also there's like 6 teams or something that are on the same amount of points as us. We're just third by goal difference, so it's still very up in the air. You feel if we win our next one, we've got a really decent shot of making the top 8, you would think, but you don't really know. I guess it doesn't matter, but you don't really know. I don't think it really matters where you finish in the top 8. I can't see how it does, because the playoff round is completely random. It's not random, but if you look at the table, there's some great teams near the 20th position, right? City are 22nd and PSG 25th, and I think Madrid are 20th, and all this sort of. So anyone could win any of those playoff games, and I presume at that point you play against, it just gets drawn randomly. So if you're first or 8th, I can't at the moment, but I've never seen it, see how that matters much. But how do you feel about where we stand at the moment? Pretty good at the moment, but let's see.
Yeah. No, for me, and it's a bit like what I've been saying before as well. Again, is that the Zagreb game, I think you play what I would say would be your most strength team, and you try and do a Lisbon. You try and get 4-0 up, maybe before or after. Fingers crossed. You try and get 4-0 up, and then you can rest a few, and then when you've got Girona, I can't remember who the league game is before, but I think it's Man City after it. So I'm not saying any. I don't like to say any game for Arsenal's a free hit. I don't like saying that. I want, if Arsenal were in a raffle, I want them to win it, Jack. That's how I am. But you can go to Girona with a much lesser. You do the business against Zagreb. I think we're pretty much through. Now, I'm not saying let's lose it. Will he? No. But I'm like, you can go to Girona and scrape a draw and be all right. I think you can play a lesser side in that, and still, because for me that's another. You've got to balance this all. I mean, this midweek, I think, especially by what happened to yesterday for me, today for yourself, I think it's ramped up the importance of it even higher. And
What's
the
your
level
team?
of roads. Oh, this is it. Yeah, this is obviously a huge question.
Let's do our teams. Let's do our 11s before.
I still think he sticks Setford in goal.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's going to play Raya.
Oh, I would be incredibly shocked if he swaps the goalkeepers for this.
I'm going to go Raya. Let's see.
Yeah. I understand it because you're playing a harder opposition, you're getting deeper in the competition. But I think he's going to back. I think he's going to back the young lad there. This is a tough one for me in that he's been managing Timber's minutes the last few weeks. But theoretically, I know that he come on as a sub, so he's probably going to start him at right back.
I'll go Party. I'm going to say mine as you say yours. I'll go Party at right back.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking as well. Centre back is so difficult because I don't know if he'll do Saliba and Gabriel again. I think he might do Saliba and Kivior.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And then left, I think he'll stick with Skelly. I think he'll keep Skelly on the left-hand side.
I do that. I didn't know if you were going to say Tierney, but I do the Skelly.
No. Oh, yeah. As much as I would love to see a Tierney appearance.
Well, he might appear. I think he will appear in this game.
Yeah.
Because I think we need Lewis Skelly for the weekend's game, so I can't see him playing fully. So I think there is a good chance Tierney does play in this game, to be honest, but I wouldn't start him personally. But carry on with your lineup.
Yeah. I would do. I would do Jorginho.
Yep.
I want to say I'd do Odegaard and Nwaneri.
Really, I'm going Moreno.
Yeah, he's going to do Nwaneri. He's going to do Moreno and Nwaneri. But I would. I want to see. For me, Odegaard needs a goal. And he needs something to be boosted, but I think he's definitely going to have him on the bench. And then I think he's going to do Sterling, Trossard, and Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I got. Sterling, Trossard, Jesus. All right, we're pretty similar, other than the right back and one or two of us. But what game's more important for you?
Right back.
Got two games coming up against Palace.
Yeah, the one midweek.
Really?
But it's more. For me at the moment. It's more likely competition that I feel we can win.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, isn't it?
That pains me saying it, Jack. That pains me saying it because both are extremely important. But if you were to say to me, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Sorry, I keep repeating myself, but he's got to get a trophy over the line. He has got to get a trophy over the line. Not just for himself, but for these players as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. What's your predictions for midweek Carling Cup quarter final? And if it's a draw midweek, does it get put to a replay or does it go to extra time?
Fixed penalties.
Straight penalties.
I don't even think it's extra time. I think it's straight penalties now.
You're right. It's straight penalties. Sorry.
Yeah, because I know they complained, didn't they, about the amount of games and everything that there's all been played. So they had the replays and everything. Yeah, so because it'll be a two-legged semi though. That's what I don't understand. I'm like, you're moaning about the volume of games, but yet you'll have a two-legged semi.
That's a bit ironic. Isn't it?
Fair enough. But yeah. And I'm potentially going to this as well, so this makes it even tougher.
Wow. Yeah, what's your prediction?
I'm going to back us 2-0. Yeah.
Wow. They'll go full strength, I presume, because it's a massive game for.
Definitely. And,
so it's going to be hard because we're not going to go full strength.
And all season we've seen how steady Eddie's played. But he will be like the proverbial. He'll be like a dog with two dicks against us. You watch. He'll be well on it. against us.
Yeah, he's going to be well on it.
Yeah, just hope maybe he might get one of his silly yellow or red cards that he's prone to getting when he gets frustrated when he can't close somebody down.
Oh, he could have had one in his last game that I watched him. They do play Brighton today, which is a big game for them. It's like a massive rivalry.
Yeah, they class it. Yeah, they class it as a derby. It's not, but it's classed as one.
Yeah, they don't like each other, so I'd hate it for them to get a couple of suspensions or something. That'd be horrible, wouldn't it? 2-0. Who's your first scorer if we win that one?
I think Namweri in it. Let's back Namweri.
Yes, go on, son.
Go on, the young lads. I mean, there's so many in that team that could do with a goal, mate. But I'll back Namweri.
What about for the weekend to the 5:30 kickoff at Palace, which is an easy place to go for us?
Yeah, I'll probably say 2-1 win.
Take that all day. Take those two results all day.
Yeah.
First scorer.
Probably Gabriel for a set piece. He's our best. He's our next to Saka. He's our best threat in away games, isn't he? Gabriel.
Yeah. It's true. It's a good bet. It's a good bet.
I'll probably say Gabriel, but honestly, I can see us winning both. I really can. I know as much as famous last words from me potentially, but as much as I've scathed that performance yesterday, much like everybody else probably has, and I didn't leave a lot of room there for hope. I do believe we'll win both of these games. I really do. So, I think we got tougher games to come than this.
London derby. Yeah, but we'll see. We've definitely dropped 4 very, very poor points in the last 2, and it's I'm not as confident. But I'll go 2-1 midweek. I think it's gonna be a real tough one though, because obviously they're going to be well up for it, and I do think we'll rotate a little bit. So and I'll go Trossard first scorer, and I'll go 1-0 Arsenal at Palace. Saka. Yeah, I'll go 1-0 Arsenal at Palace. Saka. So fingers crossed, mate. I mean, let's see how we sort of react this week. Hopefully Rice doesn't feature in midweek and he's okay. Maybe fitness wise, maybe we can get Calafiori back. That's the only one I can see coming back. At that point, we could do with him back. It doesn't sound super far away, so maybe. And beyond that, just keep everyone healthy, I guess. But we do have to rotate the big ones, some of the big ones out in midweek. I'd say, the Rices, the Sakas, maybe the Odegaards. I don't know if he's feeling a little bit of tiredness after coming back. That 3 months out is probably, affected him in different ways as well. It might have something to do with his poor finishing. I don't know. I don't want to give him excuses, but he definitely has had some time out. So, but we're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. James, thank you. It's always difficult to do one after a result like that. And
thank you for always having me on, mate. Appreciate the invitation.
No, you're top man. Neil, we missed you, but we'll get you on the next one. And you can follow us at Purely Arsenal FP and Purely Arsenal on YouTube to find all our latest podcasts, instant reactions, little YouTube shorts or whatever they call it. All of that stuff's going up there. Thank you, Anthony, for doing all that. And we'll be back after, hopefully, 2 wins against Palace up the Arsenal.